Hi everyone, I did my data analytics project tutorial on predictive policing and classification algorithms to predict crime. So first, its usage. The benefits of predicting crime: to forecast criminal activity, stop the crime before it begins, identify the crime hotspots using data, and essentially lower the incarceration percentage in the US. So classification algorithms: they are used to extract meaningful information from large data sets and can be effectively used for predicting unknown classes. Previously, they're used for many domains, including weather forecasting, healthcare, medical and financial, homeland security, and business intelligence. Overall, classification algorithms are used for machine learning. Predictive policing: they use algorithms to analyze massive amounts of information in order to predict and help prevent potential future crimes. It's the most widely practiced method in order to predict crimes, and this method is only used for policing. So here are some examples of classification algorithms and predictive policing. So first, classification algorithms: they have great use in machine learning. This is one of the equations for logistic regression, which is one of the types of algorithms that are used for policing. And then here is another type down here. And this calculates the possibility of whether a data point belongs within a certain category or it does not. And then here's its equation right here. Then predictive policing: it is only seen in predicting crime. It is so there's two types: place-based and person-based. Place-based predictive policing uses pre-existing crime data to identify places and times with a high risk. And then the person-based predictive policing identifies people who are likely to commit or be the victim using the victimization patterns that we've seen in the data. So both of the predictive policing ones are very different. One's about people and one is about place and time. And then the classification algorithms use the data to sort and then say crime, no crime. This is a violent crime, this is not a violent crime. So then here's an example of how we can use classification algorithms for more than just predicting crime. So this was about sports and not sports. So this was the input, a great game. Then it returned, it definitely was about a sport. The election was over, that's not about a sport. So that's how we can use it for crime as well. So a little bit more about classification algorithms. Classification is one of the most important concepts in data science. We use it for so much. Classification is the process of recognizing, understanding, and grouping ideas and objects to present categories or subpopulations. These classes or these subpopulations is how we will be able to sort the data for crime. Using pre-categorized training databases, machine learning programs use a variety of algorithms to classify future data sets into these categories, kind of how I mentioned in the last slide. Uses data to predict the likelihood that new data will fall into one of the predetermined categories. So old data helps to sort the new data. And there are various types of classification algorithms that can be used to predict the crime. They have multiple types, and all of them work a little differently. So a little more about classification algorithms. Two examples were shown in the example slide, so you can look back there. A decision tree would work really well for crime prediction because it moves from broad categories into more specific ones. Machine learning classification uses mathematically provable guide of algorithms to perform analytical tasks that would take humans hundreds more hours to perform. So using these algorithms and using them properly, we can really use them to our advantage with solving crime. So moving on to predictive policing, data has no immediate relevance when we're talking about predictive policing, but it can potentially help us. So we don't really know until we start to look at the data. When the criminal activity is going to happen is one of the most important factors, not necessarily about the people, which is why there has been so many problems with predictive policing, because people feel like we are targeting people when using it. Geospatial analysis is also used when using predictive policing. We can see the places, map it out, get a good feel of the area. And another example of how this has been very useful is gang shootings. We have a gang database with a lot of information on it, and using that to predict gang shootings, gang violence has been very helpful. And then the quote at the bottom says, with these techniques, individuals that have attributes that correlate with a higher chance of displaying criminal behavior can already be monitored or targeted. So we're already looking for the crime before it happens, which essentially is the goal for no crime to occur anyway. So Predpol is a company that is currently being used to help predict 1 out of every 33 people in the US. This company resulted from the research at UCLA about predictive policing. So now they are a company, and you can go onto their website and look it over. It's very interesting. They label their behaviors as repeat victimization, near repeat, and local search. They only have 3 different behavior sections within their database and algorithm. Below is the equation for what Predpol uses to predict crime. And this company actually helped out the Chicago Police Department recently in protecting the community from gun violence, and it actually worked. So it has been proven to work, and a lot of other police units are thinking about using it and are using it, and we probably just don't know. Besides the victimization and the 3 different behaviors that Predpol uses, they only use 5 different data points for each incident in order to predict the crimes. They have 5 different pinpoints of each crime that they use to sort the data. And if you can read it, incident identifier, crime or event type, location of the incident, the timestamp, and time for the incident or record modified date. So this is the only 5 things they use to sort the data, and this is how police stations are predicting crime all over the country. On this slide, which you guys should go check out if you can, is the NBC News video about policing, and they highlight LAPD since it is one of the biggest cities with one of the biggest police forces in the country, and how it is affecting them, how they're using it, and you can really get a good sense of what predictive policing actually is when you watch the video. So this brings me to the concerns about using this type of data analytics research. Predictive crime can cause many ethical issues, and there are multiple papers, scholarly and not scholarly, about this. It only considers the reported crimes, so from what I read, almost 50% of crimes aren't even getting reported. So towns with more crimes that are being reported are going to be considered as more predictive, and it's not even considering the ones that aren't being predicted. So we don't even know for sure if these crime rates are correct. Then we have the problem of over-policing. As you saw in the LAPD video, the chief says, here, go, make sure you're over here in this part of town. And then we have all the police over there. And then we're finding crimes that weren't even on the radar in the first place. More people are getting in trouble. So that could be a problem. It has caused an impact on vulnerable communities. Unfortunately, the vulnerable communities typically have more crime, especially in LA, like that video showed. And there's concern that the algorithms are racist or biased towards these communities. There's also a lack of transparency between the police and the community members and how they're using data to track down crime. And that is very understandable, because we all want to know what is going on, and how data is being used. So the next concern is constitutional. So police are using social media and other efforts to track down crime, and there's concerns that they are disobeying our freedom of speech and right to privacy and all these other concerns. So I'm sure eventually we will see something about predictive policing in the courts. And a professor also called it a self-fulfilling, prophecy, saying that if you build this predictive policing, then you're basically sending the police to the neighborhoods based on what they said. And then it's going in a full circle because you're assuming the data for your system is right and it is generated by police, which sent you there anyway. So then the circle is just going round and round. So this could be a concern as well. I love TED Talks and I genuinely think I learn a lot from them. So here's a really good TED Talk about algorithms and policing and how we use data to predict crime. So if you like TED Talks as much as I do, I would really go check it out. So just to sum it up on both of these different types of data analytics, classification algorithms have many different uses just besides crime prediction. This is not a crime prediction algorithm. This is newer that's being used for crime from what I'm seeing online. There are many types of classification algorithms that work differently with the data. So different types of algorithms, and they all work differently. And then predictive policing is strictly used for predicting crime. There's also been success, but as we just talked about, there's a lot of concerns. We use the crime data to help predict the crime. So it's data that police stations already have all over the country. And they can see sometimes where the crime can happen or the individual who is going to be the victim or the perpetrator. And here are my sources. So I hope you enjoyed talking a little bit about predictive policing and classification algorithms in order to predict crime. Thanks.